Hey there, I'm Brandon. This is Dirt Church Devotional. In Psalm 50:15, it says this: "Call on me in the day of trouble, and I will rescue you." I want to tell you a story. When my daughter was in high school, she and I decided to go for a dirt bike ride. So we loaded up the bikes, went up to the trailhead, and we had marked out the course we wanted. And we took off, and everything was going great. It was a beautiful day, and the trail conditions were perfect. And if I remember right, it was probably a school day she might have skipped. Who knows? Anyway, and I made the practice of always riding in front of my kids. If there was somebody coming the opposite direction on trail, I wanted to be the one that was going to face the head on rather than my kids. So I'm riding in front of her, and we had ridden for a couple hours and had made a pretty good loop, and we're coming down this backside on this loop, and it's a pretty narrow trail, and it got real rocky and it got steep, and there was some drop offs and so forth. And I don't like to get too far ahead because I want to be able to make sure they're doing okay, but there was no place to stop. So I rode all the way to the bottom of this hill and finally found an area, and I stopped and I pulled over and I waited and I waited and I waited, and I took my helmet off and I waited and I listened. I didn't hear anything. And I waited until I was just uncomfortable waiting anymore. So I hopped on my bike and I started riding backwards up the trail to look for my daughter. And I went a ways, and pretty soon I saw her walking down the trail, helmet in hand, and tears in her eyes. And I got to her, I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "Didn't you hear me calling?" I said, "No, I didn't hear anything." Well, she had crashed. She had gone off the side, hit a rock, gone off the side of the trail. Her bike was down off the edge. She couldn't get it up. And to make matters worse, Dad wasn't anywhere around. So I went up, got the bike back on the trail, and told her, "Okay, well, you got to get on and got to ride." She did not want to ride. And I can't blame her. I mean, it was pretty traumatic. I said, "Hey, you got to ride. There is just no choice. We got to get these bikes out of here. We'll take it slow. I will follow you so you don't have to worry about it." And then we prayed. And we always pray before we take off on a ride, but then we prayed again and just asked the Lord to go with us and to comfort her and to give her strength. So I'm following her, and she's going pretty slow. She's taking her time. But after a while, I hear something, and what I hear was singing, and singing was coming from my daughter, and it just made me smile because this is something that she used to do when she was a kid. She's having a good time. She would start singing, and she's singing, and pretty soon she's picking up the pace, and pretty soon she's just flowing with it. And next thing I know, I hear a bike coming up behind me, so I turn around to look, and there's no one there. I thought, well, that's strange. Go a little bit further, and again I hear this bike revving up, coming up behind me. And I turn around, again, nothing. About that time, my daughter pulls over and stops to rest for a minute, and we're sitting and talking, and she says, "Dad, this is going to sound really funny, but I just feel like Jesus is riding along with us. I just feel like he's just right here." I said, "You know what? He is, and by the way, he rides a two-stroke, because I heard him a couple of times, but never saw him." True story. True story. Call on me in the day of trouble, and I will rescue you. Are you troubled? Are you frustrated? Are you discouraged? Call on Jesus. That promise is good for you, just as it was for us out in the woods. Chew on that. Share this. We'll talk to you next time.